Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boy, something I didn't think I was ever going to see. Kevin Feige, yes, head of Marvel Studios, has admitted defeat. And it's about time. After miserable failure after miserable failure, after bombshell coming out of the studios, and of course, after disastrous dumpster fire after disastrous dumpster fire at the box office, of course, we can start off with Eternals and kind of work our way forward. Captain Marvel was an absolute another miserable failure. I mean, things didn't go over very well with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy's Volume 3 should have made $1 billion at the box office, and well, we all saw how the Marvels turned out, ladies and gentlemen. So we see things going forward in a slightly different direction. Obviously, we're on a current weekend right now where Deadpool and Wolverine is absolutely crushing it at the box office, and according to a lot of reports so far, it is a refreshing breath of fresh air. It's Marvel going back to its absolute proper ways. It's a love letter to fans out there, covered in a lot of profanity and violence. And boys and girls, it sounds like that's something that a lot of fans are going to get excited for, and I, for one, am certainly cannot wait to see that movie. But boys and girls, there's a lot of other things out there that maybe just some people out there in the access media who are still trying to push the agenda, even though it's far past the fact that it's going to fail miserably. Time and time again, no matter how much they try to push that, and Deadpool and Wolverine only proves that. If you haven't already, go check out my other Deadpool and Wolverine movies that absolutely confirm this as a fact. Of course, there's still those out there in the access media clinging on to hope that their representation dreams will carry forward inside of Disney Marvel, that the MCU will continue, and they'll still continue to see their strong women power going forward. No matter how many times it fails at the box office, it fails with the audience, and at the end of the day, it fails with the customers who pay the bills. And guess what? Those dogs don't hunt. Those movies don't pay the bills, unlike Deadpool and Wolverine. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got the article over here from Bounding Into Comics with this lovely headline that says, Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige admits defeat on Eternals. And ladies and gentlemen, no, this movie is never going forward. There's never going to be a second movie in any way, shape, or form. And we've got Kevin Feige's full breakdown as to why that is, what's going to happen going forward, especially considering the fact that there was so many unanswered questions left in this movie. I mean, they literally had a Titan halfway out of the planet, and for some reason, the entire MCU seems to have ignored this since this happened, much like all of the fans completely and totally ignored the Eternals movie, which, by the way, was a complete and total abomination and a disrespect to the absolute great and legendary Jack Kirby. Shame on you, Feige. Shame on you, everyone else over there at Disney, MCU, Marvel, because for that is something I will never forgive you for. And fortunately enough, it looks like you'll never try that again anytime soon. So we're going to check out this article from Bounding Into Comics, get into all the juicy details and see exactly what Kevin Feige has said. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe and or follow if you have not already. As we have just crossed 900, we are itching our way towards 1,000, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, let us know in the comment section down below if you were one of those weirdos out there that was excited for Eternals 2 and could not wait to see what happened and you absolutely loved the first one, or if you are much like the majority of the Marvel fans out there and are very, very glad to hear we will never have to see anything out of that abomination ever again. So, from our dear sweet Bounding Into Comics from Spencer Bakuli, Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige admits defeat on Eternals, says there are no immediate plans for a sequel. Thank God for that one. In a development that absolutely every mover-goer could see coming, Kevin Feige has revealed that Marvel Studios currently has no immediate plans to produce an Eternals sequel. Color us shocked there. And you always love that. No immediate plans, of course, because that's his nice way of saying no way in hell. We're never, ever going to touch that again. That was a disastrous dumpster fire. It lost us hundreds of millions of dollars. And guess what? Your representation BS nonsense doesn't pay the bills. Virtue bucks aren't going to keep your lights on, ladies and gentlemen, and they're certainly not going to pay your rent. Oh, no. Anyways, exactly, Spencer. Exactly. The eternally baseball-capped producer provided this update on the future. I mean, the guy doesn't have a lot of hair. Have you seen him? I don't blame him, Kevin Feige. Keep wearing your hats, buddy. I don't blame him. Hey, you know what? It happens to the best of us. It's the way life goes. Or rather, lack thereof, of MCU's Black Sheep super team while speaking to Inverse's Deis Johnston and Jake Glenneman. Pressed on the matter by his host, because of course he would just to avoid to talk about the disastrous dumpster fire that was, and he especially doesn't want to have to admit defeat on it either. Feige admitted there are no immediate plans for Eternals 2. Wow. I wonder why. Maybe because go woke, go broke is absolutely something that is true, and that the only marketing we heard about this movie is how it was about representation, and it was going to save lives. It was going to save lives. But instead, it cost you hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office and turned into a disastrous dumpster fire. Yeah, your virtue bucks don't pay the bills. There are, and I think you've seen maybe in a trailer we've released recently, an acknowledgement of some of those events. He added, referring to the upcoming appearance of the half-emerged celestial Tiamat, which had become a permanent fixture of Earth's 19999's surface at the end of the Eternals as a set piece in the upcoming Captain America Brave New World. Certain giant things came out of the ocean. Literally. It's a throwaway line to reference that, yes, it did actually happen. And I love the fact that it's Earth 199. Represent 199. If you know, you know. Yeah. It should be noted, though, Marvel Studios has no current plans to revisit the Eternals. At one point, they very, very clearly did. Case in point, the film's ending and mid-credit scene. In first, those Eternals who rebelled against Arishem are whisked away by the Celestial to serve as character witnesses against the pending judgment of humanity. In the second, the Eternal Eros, his companion Pip the Troll, as portrayed by Harry Styles and Patton Oswalt, respectively appear before those Eternals who were left on Earth and offer to help them retrieve their lost companions. Seems like a sequel setup, if there ever was. And yes, tell me they wouldn't have the tell me they weren't going to try to pull the Celestials in as another big bad for the Marvel Universe. But of course, this movie failed miserably. Why? Because it wasn't about representing the Eternals properly. It wasn't about respecting the great work of Jack Kirby. No, it was about their representation and how this movie was going to save lives. Well, there's one life it didn't save, and that was the Future of the Eternals 2 movie out there. So, hey, yay. So, yeah, it just goes on. They talk about a previous rumor was not only Eternals 2 was once being actively considered for development, but its biggest proponent was none other than Feige himself. The only reason its audience were spared, supposedly Disney CEO Bob Iger. Oh, really? Well, probably because Bobby Boy's worried about that stock price. In March 2024, a post to the personal Patreon account, noted scooper Daniel Richman, reported that Feige was apparently gung-ho on pushing through with a second Eternals film despite the poor reception of the first. He was openly overridden by Iger and his assumption that the sequel would likely turn out to be yet another Marvel box office disaster. And absolutely at the end of the day, the film cost at least $472.4 million to make and fell short of $70 million short of breaking even. This movie cost them hundreds of millions of dollars, and no matter what kind of deluded, weird, wonderful fan Kevin Feige may or may not be, his delusional representation, nonsense, and absolute bastardization of the great characters that Jack Kirby created, the Eternals, was absolutely abhorrent to all of the fans out there, all of the general audiences, and at the end of the day, the paying customers. And guess what? 2 plus 2 still equals 4. Up is still up, and down is still down. And when you fail this bad at the box office, I'm glad to hear that there's at least one quasi-sentient adult that can still do math over there. And for the love of God, the fact that it's Bob Iger is a scary thing indeed inside of Disney Marvel, boys and girls, because all of the representation and all of the nonsense out there absolutely is his fault. He hired these people, the same kind of people that absolutely destroyed the incredible creation that is the Eternals by Jack Kirby, and now he's out there the one adding up all the ducats and realizing that that dog won't hunt and that there is no way in hell he is going to spend another $400 million on another disastrous box office dumpster fire. And honestly, boys and girls, thank you, Bob Iger, for that, if it's true. Either way, we can all take some solace in knowing no one will have to review, talk about, or even simply consider the existence of a Disney MCU Eternals 2. Thank the Lord in heaven for that one, boys and girls. I'm sure this is good news for Jack Kirby to hear as well.